I'm Cliff, and this is my garage. Today I'm going to show you how to remove the taillight from a first generation Porsche 987. Hey, welcome back to the garage. And if this is your first time joining me, thanks for dropping by. So this is my 2006 Porsche Cayman S. And this is the model 987, which was produced from 2006 to 2008. The subsequent generation is the 987.2, which was produced from 2009 through 2012. Now, my other Cayman is a 987.2. It's a 2012 Porsche Cayman S. Technically, this model is the 987. However, since the second generation was the 987.2, most people, including me, are going to refer to this as the 987.1. So today we're going to take a look at how you remove the taillights from the 987.1. It's not hard. In fact, it's really pretty easy. It's not real obvious at first glance how they come out. Now, as I said, I also own the 987.2. Wonderful car, but the taillights are different. They're a different shape, and they come out slightly differently. One thing to note is these are not the stock 987.1 taillights. These were third-party taillights that were installed by one of the previous owners, and they are, in my opinion, absolutely gorgeous. I love these taillights. I don't like the original OEM Cayman taillights. They're like, well, they're big because that's just the size of them, but they're this bright red with a massive white backup light area, and I just don't think they're attractive at all. These are absolutely gorgeous, and unfortunately, as far as I know, you cannot buy them anymore. They don't seem to make them. I've never found any that look like it. I've never found any that look this good, and it absolutely breaks my heart that I can't transfer them from my 987.1 over to my 987.2, because hands down, that's what I'd do. These things look great. Now, even though these are not the stock Cayman taillights, of course, they fit in the same opening, they're the same size, and they come out exactly the same way. As I said before, the process is really straightforward. Let's just jump into it. For this demo, we're going to remove the right rear tail light. So in order to do that, we've got to get access to the back side of the tail light. So let's open up the rear hatch. To get access to the retaining bolts, we need to remove two pieces out of the trunk here. One is this plastic shroud, and we do that with this release knob. We turn it counterclockwise, 90 degrees, and it comes right off. Now, one thing to note on here is this little prong that's poking out here. It has to go back into this hole right back here. You can see it. That's a kind of a pain to get back in. Not really once you know it's there, but otherwise it'll just fall down and it won't stay in place. The other thing we've got to remove is this carpeted piece here. Easiest way to do that is just take and put your fingers right in the groove. It sits in kind of a groove right here. Just put your fingers in there, curl them under, and it comes right out. Now there are three studs that come from the taillight through this piece of metal, and then there are nuts on them. You can see it right here. There's the stud poking out, and there is the nut that's on it. A couple things to keep in mind. One is that this stud protrudes quite a bit past the nut. So if you're going to get on to this thing with a wrench or a socket, make sure that you use like a deep socket so that this stud is not bottoming out in the socket itself. Or what I prefer is one of these ratcheting wrenches, and that makes it a little easier to get hold of, I think. If you don't, you can still use the deep socket and a ratchet driver, but these ratchet sockets, I think, are just easier to use. just kind of get in your way here. Put this on, oh, turn it the other way. And this is the easiest way to get it loose. Now, from this point, you can use your fingers to just remove it. But one thing to be aware of is that you can see this, this washer on here. The washer is attached to the nut, but not absolutely. It spins around on its own. So if you're grabbing the nut and turning it, if you're grabbing the washer and turning it, you're not turning the actual nut. You got to get back on this back edge here and get hold of it with your fingers to turn the nut. It's kind of a pain, but it's not a real big deal. It just comes off. Set that nut aside. And then we just repeat that with the other two. This one's kind of a pain to get at because it's tucked up behind here. You see this opening? They are, the two of them, one is right here kind of above that opening, and the other one is back in here also above the opening. So let's get hold of this one. Find it again. And that's why I really like this ratcheting wrench. It makes getting hold of it much easier. And with this this shroud piece in the way, getting a socket on there is difficult. If you just kind of use your finger to turn the nut, but don't get onto the washer, it comes off pretty quick. Just when you get out towards the end, be careful not to drop it, because if you drop it and it falls back in this area here, well, it's not really on camera, but there's an opening down here that you can lose it into, and that does not make for a good day. Get this wrench onto the third nut, get it loosened up, and again, just use the fingers to get the nut off. Again, kind of keep, as you're turning it, put pressure back on it so that it doesn't fall out of your fingers, because now I'm right over that hole. Okay, and that's it. If we just take and reach in here and push on the back, the tail light pops right out. Removing this connector is actually easier from inside the car, but it will be impossible to show you on the video how it works. So I went ahead and pulled the light out and pulled the connector with it so that I can show you how it works. It's really simple. You just take and you see that there are two ears and then there are two more. Take the two outer ones, squeeze them in, and that releases the connector, and just wiggle it and it comes right off. That's all there is to it. Once you know how to do it and you've done it once, it's quick, simple, and easy. As always, thank you so much for watching, liking, and sharing my videos. Please go down there, find that thumbs up button, give it a click so it gives me a like on this video. Click on that big red subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to know everything that's going on here in the garage, click on the bell icon, and that turns on subscriptions for this channel. That way YouTube will let you know every time that I post a new video from here in Cliff's Garage. I'll see you next time.